Welcome to the Uplevel Dairy Podcast. I'm your host, Peggy Coffeen, and this is a special episode today because this week actually marks 2 years since Uplevel Dairy Podcast first launched in November of 2023. And when I started Uplevel Dairy Podcast, my goal and mission was this: to bring you the conversations that will uplevel your skill set and your mindset, to not just uplevel, but to uplift, to inform and inspire, to educate and encourage the people that I'm dedicated to serving here in the dairy industry. And I hope that if you've been following along, whether this is one of the first episodes you've heard, or maybe you've been following along since the very beginning, I hope that's what we've been able to do for you here. And thank you. Thanks for tuning in. Thank you for listening. And in celebration of 2 years of Uplevel Dairy Podcast, what I'm bringing back for you today is where it all began. Our very first episode 1, that dropped on November 3rd, 2022, with Jared Dueppengiesser. And this episode on employee turnover is a story that Jared shares about how he was able to help Rosendale Dairy take their management team and their dairy team to an entirely new level. And now there are some great nuggets in one of my all-time favorite conversations that you're about to hear from Jared. And if you're wondering what Jared's been up to since 2 years ago when we recorded this podcast, you can actually head back to episode 162, where Jared joined a panel that we hosted at World Dairy Expo with the National Dairy Shrine and talked about his own career journey, which has now led him from dairy management to the service side of the dairy industry through his position with Asepsis. And so take a seat and enjoy episode number 1 of the Uplevel Dairy Podcast. In today's episode, we will hear how a young dairy manager has up-leveled the culture of an 8,500 cow dairy with 52 employees and has experienced nearly zero turnover for the past 6 months, even in the parlor, and he's just 26 years old. Jared Dueppengiesser is the manager at Milk Source's Rosendale Dairy. A college internship led this Cornell grad from his family's 900-cow dairy in New York to one of Milk Source's sites. Those 3 months were all Jared needed to know that this was a company and a culture he wanted to be a part of. He started out as a herdsman at Omro Dairy and then stepped into full-time management of Rosendale Dairy in June of 2021. This episode is sponsored by Uplevel Dairy Podcast founding partner Adiseo, a global leader in nutritional solutions and premier provider of rumen-protected methionine for dairy producers who want to optimize milk production, capture more value for components, and maintain the health of their high-performing herds. And now let's hear from Jared and how he has turned the tables on turnover and successfully up-leveled the culture at Rosendale Dairy. Take me back to when you would have first come into that management role at Rosendale about a year and a half ago or so. And you stepped onto that dairy in that new position with a vision for the culture you wanted to create there for the people, for the employees, for all 52 people milking 8,500 cows for that operation. Describe that vision of the culture you wanted to create and lead at Rosendale Dairy.
Yeah, definitely. It for me, I really just want it to be an atmosphere where people are encouraged to excel and excited to give their best every day. I really want all the employees to see it as an opportunity for growth, and not just growth in their work here and their career here, but I want them to be able to take what they learn here and through our culture have a better personal growth, whether it's with their family, whether it's down the road if they're doing something else in another career. I want us to have a really big impact on every single employee as much as we can to better all of their future.
Jared, that is a very noble and mature outlook, because I mean, here you were 24 years old?
Yeah, at that time.
Coming into this role, 24 you were, but you could see that was the vision you wanted to create, a vision where there was an atmosphere that encouraged people to excel in what they did, an excitement for living out their best every single day when they're on the job, and an intrinsic drive to see opportunities for growth for employees as individuals, so that whether they stayed with you on the team there or they went on to do something else, that they were a better version of themselves. And that is an incredible vision for a culture to create. But I know, one thing, Jared, that you shared with me in the past was that there were a couple of key things that happened in your path in management that really not just inspired you to take the action to create that to make that vision reality, but really empowered you to do so. So share with us a little bit about what some of those triggers were that helped you to take that vision and make it the reality at Rosendale Dairy.
Yeah, so just stepping back a little bit, I will say that going into the role, I did have this vision. I did have this desire to do that. But it doesn't happen overnight, especially when you're coming into a new position, new employees. Our employees have a new manager. Everything's totally different. So it was something that I needed to constantly work on and grow and develop. So I definitely didn't have it all figured out, and I still don't. I'm still learning, but it definitely took really, really persistent effort to work on it. And like you had asked a couple of things. We had a speaker at one of our manager meetings. Jeff Cortez is his name, and he wrote a book about giving your employees crap is actually the name of it, and that's an acronym, not actual crap. It's care, respect, appreciation, and praise. And I think the key to that is you really have to know your people. People stay because appreciation matters, and they recognize that and they see that. And I think the other thing too is like with the appreciation and praise, when we reach goals, we acknowledge that and we celebrate that success. And I think that's huge because the guys and girls, we don't want to like put these goals in front of them and they reach them and then, oh, we've got another goal. So when we reach that goal, we celebrate that success that they did with them. And I think that's been huge part of it.
Yeah. So dig into that a little bit more, Jared, for us. What does a celebration of success look like?
Yeah. So it can vary, you name it, but they're very motivated by food and just kind of getting together and having camaraderie. And that also in itself helps the culture. So we do cookouts during the summer. And this time of year, we'll buy pizza and just, during their break time at lunch, we do that all together and it doesn't sound like much. It's nothing special, but being intentional about it is super important because you can easily say, oh, that's not special. There's nothing all that great about it, but they really do appreciate it. And just acknowledging that success that they've had is huge for them.
Yeah, and that goes right back into the CRAP acronym, right? The appreciation and acknowledgement, and showing that you care. And what you just described is the way that you celebrate those victories and celebrate those goals. But there are things that you're also doing every single day. The little things that exemplify and show employees that you care and that you have respect for them and that you appreciate them. So what are some of the little things that you intentionally incorporate into your daily activities and how you lead from the top down to bring that into your culture?
Yeah. So more recently, I'd say within the last 6 to 8 months, the parlor manager and we sat down after we were having some turnover and we're like, man, it's costly, it's frustrating, it's exhausting. The performance isn't where it needs to be. And so what we saw that we really needed to do was connect with each and every employee on a deeper level. And so we really got to know all of our guys. And I'm like, after we got done with stuff out in the barn in the morning, every day we're intentional about going to every single employee and just having a little conversation with them. It could be about what they're doing, but really what we want to do is get to know them outside of here. We want to get to know their family. We want to get to know their background. What they enjoy doing. Just being on an equal level with them, and really just getting to know them a lot better. And like, just for example, we got to know that one of our employees had a son, and the next week we're able to say to him, "Hey, how's your son doing?" Just little stuff like that if you aren't intentional about getting to know them, they don't feel that connection. And I think that's gone a long way to like, okay, this isn't somewhere where I just come to show up in the morning. It's a long day of work and then I go home. No, so this is somewhere where we come, the people care about me, and I enjoy doing what I'm doing. And it's helped us a lot.
Yeah. So those little touches, those conversations, and I'm sure, Jared, in your role and in the role of your team members, this is a 24/7 business, and it can be really easy to get caught up in the whirlwind that dairy management is, right? But you made it an intentional effort to have these conversations, to have these outreaches to employees on an individual level, to get to know them. I mean, it sounds simple, right? Almost too simple. But what over time have those little touches and those intentional efforts led to as far as results?
Yeah. So like you said, it sounds, when we discuss it, we make it sound like, oh, you just do this and here's your result. It's a constant, you have to be very intentional about it day to day. And like I said previously, we don't have it all figured out, but we're really trying to be intentional about making an effort to create a great culture here at Rosendale. And because of that, we've seen very little to nearly no turnover in at least 6 months. And because of that, you see so many things improve day by day, whether it's just overall cleanliness of the dairy and the parlor. We see better parlor throughput. Because of that, you're seeing better milk production, better milk quality. And there's so much that low turnover contributes to, and has a huge impact on, and just the lower level of stress on myself and parlor manager, it makes our life a lot better too.
Yeah.
You probably can't quantify what that is, but it's worth it. So.
Yeah. So, Jared, when we talk about that turnover piece, and a lot of dairies, if you ask, they have what they would describe as their ideal level of success with employee turnover. And oftentimes what that includes is a really good core group of people, but then maybe an accepted level of turnover at the parlor level. That's really not the case for you guys right now, is it?
No, it's not right now. And we definitely have gone through times of more turnover in entry level positions, like parlor positions. We have that core group of employees, and we haven't lost any of them. But like you said, and recently, past 6 months or so, we haven't really had any turnover in any position. But I do think that it's something that does come and go, but we didn't want to accept that. The parlor manager and I, we really we were seeing a lot of that, and we didn't want to accept that and say, well, that's just normal. That happens. Well, it shouldn't. We didn't want to accept that is happening. So that's how we kind of had to get a little bit creative and super intentional about what we're doing, in order to retain those the newest employee. And something that the CEO Jim Ostrom and always says and asks, who's the most important employee? And the answer is the most recently hired employee, because they are the employee that we have to really really work hard to show them why this is a great place to be. This is a great place to work. This is somewhere where you can have a great future and great career. But that employee that enters day one, they have no idea. So that's why we always say that. Obviously, they're all very important, but that's the reason why we say that the most recently hired employee is the most important.
Yeah, yeah. And you put that into action every single day. And like you said, it's yielded results. It's yielded results in throughput and parlor efficiency and all of those great measurable things. But at the end of the day, it's made things a little bit easier for you too as a manager, right?
Yeah, it definitely has. And the other thing too that's nice is, so like now if we hire somebody or more recently hire somebody, you have a group of employees here that have been here for 6, 8 months, several years. It's not like, oh yeah, obviously there's a bunch of turnover here because everybody's new here. A lot of it's great because you have the example of, hey, it's very doable. It's a great place to be, and look at everybody else. And that also is something that just builds on top of itself and really helps it out a lot too.
Yeah, yeah, that's great. And thank you so much for sharing, Jarrett, how you had this vision for the culture you wanted to establish at Rosendale. And there were these certain things that became your tools and your inspiration to take that vision and to put it and make it a reality. But then these action steps that, maybe seemed simple, but you did with intention and consistency, and how that has yielded some really great results that great for the dairy, great for the operation, but at the heart of it, great for the people and the culture. And kudos to you for taking on that leadership role. And this position that you're in as a manager, like, it's a tough job. I mean, it's intense, it's long hours. I'm sure there are times when it can be really, really stressful. And you're a young, talented guy, and you could be doing a lot of different things. But you've picked a career that is a lot more challenging than others. So, what is it that keeps you in this career as a dairy manager?
Yeah, there certainly are days that I have questioned why I am doing what I'm doing, but I think that's the same for anybody. But first off, I grew up doing this, and it's just in me. I love it. It's what I know. It's what I love. But specifically here at Milk Source, for sure, the reason why I do this are the owners. It's Jim, John, and Todd. They really value each and every employee here. They care about every employee. They have a vision for the culture of Milk Source too, and they're very intentional about continuously working on that. We have the Milk Source way of the day, where we have different words that we go through: respect, and then we discuss what that means. And every single employee gets that email, a different word every day. And then within our team at the dairy, we discuss it so the parlor group, they'll discuss respect today, and the herdsman, they'll discuss what that respect means to them. And it just creates an environment that is just exceptional. And they truly are three great bosses, and they're just great people too. So
Yeah. Yeah, incredible businessmen, incredible entrepreneurs, visionaries, but at the core, incredible humans, and you have the opportunity to be a part of their vision being a reality with the culture that they're creating, and what a gift it is for you to be a part of that, but ultimately what a gift back to them that they've been able to attract talent like you, Jared, that are in alignment with those qualities, that vision, the milk source way. And and it just all goes back to the things that you've talked about from the very beginning, and that's culture, right? It's the culture that is coming from the top down, but it's also your ability at your site there at Rosendale, where you're overseeing 52 people, 8,500 cows, to take those aspects of that bigger, culture, and to spread it one by one intentionally to each of the people that's on your team. And congratulations to you. Here again, 26 years old, figuring this out and doing so well at it. Jared, now there are a lot of other people like you that are going to be listening to this podcast, dairy managers, doing different things and different levels of their career. But oftentimes one of the biggest challenges that comes up over and over again in the management conversation are the challenges of managing people. So, what is your best nugget of advice to share with other dairy managers when it comes to not just the cow part, but the heart and core of your role of managing people?
Yeah, I think the huge thing with that is investing in yourself, investing in growing yourself, investing in learning how to manage people, learning how to deal with conflict. I've done a number of different courses and classes, one on servant leadership, just learning what leadership really means and how to connect with your employees. I think, like I said, the biggest thing is just investing that time into yourself to learn. But the other thing too is, I will say, is it's natural for some and it's not for others. And I think recognizing that is key. For me, this is the part of the job that I love, is building the culture. If I was just out in the barn with one other employee every day, I can tell you right now, I would not be here. I love building a team. I love creating that team and seeing the results from that. That's the challenge that I enjoy in this position. I do enjoy working with cows. It's what I know, it's what I love doing, but it's really the developing a team, developing a culture, that's the daily challenge that really wakes me up every morning to keep going.
Yeah. And when you can get out of bed in the morning, motivated and excited to go after that, I mean, that's also the difference between, getting up because you're getting phone calls when people aren't showing up and there's issues among employees and all those things, because of these extra things you're doing, the way that you are developing your own leadership skills. You get to be in the spot where you're waking up and your feet hit the ground and you're ready to go and take what you've created there, and to continue to develop that into something that's truly great and truly special. And Jared, it's been so fun to hear about your management and this journey you've been on through Milk Source at Rosendale Dairy. And as we get close to the end of our conversation here, there's something that's pretty cool about you that I want to tie into our conversation. And I know you just mentioned how much you love developing teams, but at your heart, you have an affinity for cows and the pretty kind. So you just had a really exciting, you and your family and Milk Source together had a really exciting week in October at World Dairy Expo. Tell us a little bit about how that week went for you guys and your affinity for those pretty show cows.
Yeah, I definitely do. There's a soft spot in my heart for the for the show cows. Yeah, so we're extremely humbled by the results that we got at Expo. are a cow that we bred, a red and white cow, that we own with Milk Source and Lori Fisher. She was grand of the red and white show, and then we also had a black and white 4-year-old that won her class and was honorable mention grand champion at Expo. It's definitely something that also has been a great bond between my dad and my brother. It's something that we're all three of us are really, really passionate about and we love doing. And it wouldn't be possible without the partnership that we have with Milk Source. Without them and the care that they have at Milk Source Genetics, it just would not be possible. They're second to none, and they just do an incredible job. And we really are extremely thankful for the partnership that we have on these cows with them.
Yeah. And congratulations on that victory and on pursuing that part of your passion as well with showing cattle and aligning with your partners at Milk Source's genetics division to do that. And as we wrap up here, Jared, we're so grateful for your time and you sharing your talents and insights as a dairy manager. And how I like to close out this podcast is by asking 5 questions. So these are the Uplevel 5 questions that are designed to provoke your next level of performance. And knowing that what you said earlier about investing in yourself and being a person who's always learning and growing, I'm excited to hear what your responses to these 5 questions are. And so short answer questions, pretty simple. First one is, what does success look like to you?
Yeah, so I think for me, on a personal level, it is a successful marriage, growing in my faith, and just having a rock solid relationship with the family. To me, that's what my personal success outside of work looks like.
Awesome. And okay, up level 5, question number 2, and 3 words. How do you want to show up each day?
I'd say for me, that's pretty easy. It's kind of what I tried to live by here at the farm and also at home, is humble, hungry, and smart. And I want to expand upon that just briefly. Obviously humble, just admitting to mistakes, and with hungry, always eager to learn more, to challenge myself, to grow more. But then the smart one is a little bit confusing because it's not intellectually smart; it's people smart. And that we've talked about a lot, but it's really, really, it's a core value of mine of just being people smart, not just with employees, but being people smart with my wife and with my family and building those relationships. So humble, hungry, and smart is, and I got that from a book called The Ideal Team Player that I read. So that's, those are definitely the 3 that come to mind.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing those. And question number 3, who are a couple of the thought leaders or influencers that you follow?
So one of I think the main one is Craig Rochelle. He has a leadership podcast. Listen to that a lot. He is I don't know if he's CEO or owner of Life Church, and he just has incredible knowledge on leadership. Listen to that a lot. And then I constantly have something where I am just getting leadership quotes. So I don't know if I have specifically another one that right now but I'm always getting little snippets of whether it's Warren Buffett or, quotes from them, that every day I get an email of just impactful leadership quotes that I'm always trying to keep thinking and growing in that.
Awesome. That is great. Thank you for sharing that. And question number 4, what are the words you live by? Like a favorite quote. Sounds like you're getting them every day in your inbox.
A couple of those that I really try to live by is you reap what you sow. And then the other one would be comfort is the enemy of progress. I think both of those for me just really explain, whatever effort you're going to put into something, that's what you're going to get out of it. And if you're just comfortable in what you're doing, there's a level of comfort that's okay. But if you're not pushing yourself to reach your next goal, then progress is just completely stunted.
Yeah, well, that leads right up into our last question of the Uplevel 5. And it's this: what is your next personal uplevel, that area of life that you are looking to take to the next level?
First and foremost, it's my marriage. I want to work every day to be the man that my wife fell in love with. And without that, I don't need my job. Nothing else really matters. So to me, that's the first and foremost, most important personal up level that I'm focusing on.
Jared, this is fantastic. And, sometimes I think, we look to people older than us to find wisdom, but I can tell you today that personally, and I think for a lot of our listeners out there, that they have found great wisdom in your words, whether it's just what you shared through the Uplevel 5, through your management philosophies, through the way that you have created a vision and a culture and put that into action. We're so grateful and thankful for you to be a part of the Uplevel Dairy Podcast.
Well, I had a great time, and I really appreciate you having me on here.
Thank you so much. And with that, thank you for joining us for the Uplevel Dairy Podcast. And just again, this episode is sponsored by Adiseo, a global leader in nutritional solutions and a premier provider of rumen-protected methionine for dairy producers who want to optimize milk production, capture more value from their components, and maintain the health of their high-performing herds. And because you know that feed is the greatest expense on any dairy, you probably also want to know how those adjustments to the ration affect your bottom line. Adiseo empowers producers and nutritionists to make informed ration balancing decisions with MilkPay.com. Customizable to your dairy's own data, this profitability calculator puts the power of real-time milk market information in the palm of your hand. Find out how much your latest ration change is really costing you with the free MilkPay app, available on iOS and through MilkPay.com. You just heard from Jared Dueppengiesser, and this was episode number 1, the very first episode of the Uplevel Dairy Podcast, launched 2 years ago. And if you have been along with us for this journey, I just want to take a moment to say thank you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for giving your time and your attention to Uplevel Dairy. And I hope that in doing so, that you have been able to gain and grow. I hope you have been up-leveled and uplifted, informed and inspired, educated and encouraged. That's the mission that I'm on here to serve the dairy community through Uplevel Dairy Podcast. And if you've been enjoying the Uplevel Dairy Podcast, I have a special request from you. Would you please just take a moment to go ahead to the rating and review category on your favorite podcast listening platform and offer Uplevel Dairy a 5-star rating, and better yet, a kind review. These are the things that help us continue to go and to grow this show.